If you're in the mood for a new sedan, there's one big change that's occurred that you're going to have to get used to. And that's the fact that, well, there's no plain Janes out there anymore, and pretty much everything's delivering cutting edge designs. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, maybe it came on subtly or, well, it just all of a sudden happened, but basically all cars, whether economic to luxury sedans, are having to push the envelope, not just in innovations, technology, and safety, but also what we demand on the outside. Don't get me wrong, if you look hard enough, you can find those plain Janes out there, the ones that will let you blend in with traffic and, well, give you a yawning affair on the outside. But for the most part, sedan exteriors have come a long way, and they're really stepping up their game when it comes to designs, no longer just being on luxury liners, but truly everyday vehicles that for the most part, many of us can climb behind the wheel. Now, where you see it is on a vehicle like this, the 2019 Nissan Maxima, really a flagship for Nissan that takes some of their sport and luxury and combines it. And you see it right from the sculpting. So let's look at the profile, because what I like here is they've really pushed the envelope and gotten away from the other cookie cutter designs and, well, delivered their own. A good, no great design starts first with any true architect, and really the form and function is only a close second. And what I'm referring to is what you see from the profile. Had form and function really been at the forefront, we wouldn't have got everything we see here. And it's all subtle cues that combine together that give the Maxima its truest kind of outlier to the industry. And what I'm referring to, first off, is the A, B, and C pillars. Seems minimal, but nice and darkened black accents. Even right here at the C pillar, just a horizontal, but what that does is really separate the roof line from the body, almost giving a 360 view. And if you were to apply aerodynamics to that, it almost feels like the airflow is separating the vehicle into two pieces. Even better for the Maxima is what they do on the profile. Now, I mentioned this 100 times about how these vehicles are starting to be so sculpted and ridgy and edgy. Literally. And where you see it here on the Maxima is similar to the competition. Of course, a little bit of ridge lines here through the hood, but where they separate is just in a modest approach right through this midline here. Across the board, what's happening? Pretty much keeping this straight across the middle. What they do here to add a little bit more, well, sculptedness and fluid architecture is drop it down, just accenting this vehicle just a hair more and separating it again from the competition. Now, certainly this implied eye line here picks up there at the back end, traditional styling cues, but what it really does is combine for a nice, breathtaking approach. Now, by the numbers, this is where this vehicle also delivers great appeal. Basically, overall about 192 inches, wheelbase fairly stretched at 109. Other dimensions, pretty standard, just under 5 feet and just over 6 feet wide. One other number is just over 5 inches of ground clearance. Looking at the four corners, we got a 245/40 in the front, 248/40 in the rear, wrapping a 19-inch rim, darkened in this kind of black, bright, polished accent. Now that kind of couples nicely with all the other accents, with only just a hint of chrome there on the lower portion of the window and here and there at the front and the back. Now, what I truly like is the low profile tires, but one thing I wish we could do is possibly extend out this sidewall just a hair, because of course you know what happens when you get too close to the curbs. Well, it becomes a scraping affair, but just a little bit extra rubber might prevent that. Grille warfare now has two components, no longer just what's front and center, but also what's happening on the outer side, specifically when it comes to headlights. Now here on the Maxima, nice brightened chrome accent when it comes to that lower V with darkened polished black to match the rest of the accents, of course, on this vehicle. Swing around to the headlights, very menacing and horizontal, very little vertical, but lots of throw left and right. And also in the design, multiple beams giving you plenty of forward throw down going down the road. Also a little bit of bedazzling when it comes to that rope effect around the headlights, traditional in the current sense when it comes to designs on sedans. Now, as you sweep down, pretty tight lines as for the front end, not really protruding forward, really nice and tight, but aggressive, even lower, a little bit fascia. Now, as when it comes to airflow, what you're really gonna see is right through the middle, pretty much right in through here and down low. Now, interestingly, you see all these kind of implied ports here and there. They're all really not functional when it comes to airflow. All that's really gonna come right through the middle. Now, this may sound simple, but turn signals, well, are one thing that I've started to look at as well. And what I'm referring to is, well, how they operate. One thing I've noticed, and maybe you have, is going down the road, a vehicle coming at you, has a turn signal on. Have you noticed that the headlight itself is actually off with the turn signal wrap only thing that's visible? Well, to me, that seems, well, like a safety hazard. If you lose both headlights, well, what is that given to the driver, or for that matter, people coming at it? Now, what I like here on the Maxima, well, they keep the standard procedure with the headlights working, and they have a nice lower beam here, almost all the way across under the headlight. As we go down the vehicle, nice turn signal here on the outer mirror, and here at the back end in the form of this nice sculpted rear taillight, but of course safety built in there in the form of letting people know what you're doing. Now here at the back end, added safety is a backup camera and backup sensors, really nice and projecting there to that LCD screen on the front. Another great feature is what lies in here. Before diving into the cargo area, let's talk about some other features. First off, this rear spoiler and the quad pipes, both adorned in that black glossy accent that really goes well with the rest of the vehicle, which you also see is a little touch of chrome that couples nicely with that chrome we see in the front and on the profile. Now, one of the things we really talk about is the fill-up area. It seems to be kind of an Achilles heel for a lot of sedans. And what I'm referring to is the safety and security of this vehicle must translate to the fill-up area. What they do well here on the Maxima is when the vehicle is locked, this is locked, but really to gain access, fairly simple. Just simply unlock the vehicle and this simply opens right up. What you're also going to see for the operation is a cap system. Now here, when it comes to the cargo, real easy to use. Nice electronic release right here in the middle, springs right up. What you're going to see on the inside is just over 14 cubic feet of space. If you happen to have cargo that's too big for the trunk, well, you can easily lay the second row with these pull tabs here, laying the second row with ease. Now, one of the feature is what lies beneath the cargo floor. And what I like is, well, it's in the form of a spare tire. Again, something that's starting to really fall by the wayside, but not here on the Maxima. When it comes to power plant, this vehicle delivers specifically with a 3.5 liter V6 engine, has about 300 horses and 261 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's coupled to an automatic transmission, but does have that kind of clutchless feel, referring to the paddle shifters there on the steering wheel. One of the biggest features though has to be found here on the key fob, and maybe one of the only references we give it is because it does have remote start, and the way it works is simply by pressing and holding it from the warmth of your home, and it cranks right up. One area where the Maxima doesn't measure up on paper is in legroom numbers, but what's listed just doesn't tell you the true picture. And what I'm referring to is up front. Now what you're going to find is around about 45 inches of space. Now that's more than enough for the average driver, and what that basically means is most front seats are going to be slid forward. That equates to maybe 2 to 3 added inches for the back. Now what we have in the back is about 34 inches, but again, adding a few inches from the front will definitely make that feel a lot more comfortable and, well, make it look so much better in person than on paper. Normally I start right there at the center of the dash, but my focus, well, got changed quite quickly when I looked at the gauge cluster, specifically when you look at that nice digital readout for speed front and center. Now there's an analog tach and speedometer on either side, but what Nissan did is step up when it comes to that nice LCD display. Now it only seems like a couple months ago or a few weeks ago that I drove another Nissan that lacked this innovation. So hopefully this is a sign of, well, where they're headed. Now, what I truly like is, of course, you have the best of both worlds, and you also have lots of information there at your fingertip when you scroll through. Better yet, that LCD screen is nice and colorful and, well, makes this Maxima feel cutting edge. Now, it once used to be that this was our entertainment system. That pretty much was it, but now it truly is an infotainment, really everything housed under a touchscreen system. What I like is Nissan really has stepped up when it comes to size, really nice and large compared to some other sedans that have a really small offering here. Now, there are nice shortcuts on either side for function, symmetricness when it comes to the tune select and volume select on either side. What you also see is some shortcuts down below, and really it brings up a nice huge screen, very colorful, lots of information going on here, and you do have your shortcuts for your presets. When it comes to climate controls, you're going to find dual zones up front, nice big knobs for the temperature select. Fan speed is in the form of this button, as well as the rest of the modes all the way around. One feature I noticed after a couple of days of driving was actually this control knob between the front occupants. Now, what's interesting, typically you're going to find this when that infotainment system is just too far away. But what I found is it's barely an arm stretch, really easy to use. But that control knob really allows you to navigate with ease by turning it, toggling it, pushing it up and down, finding what you're looking for, and then simply pressing down. Really allows you to kind of keep your eyes on the road, keep your hand where it naturally gets positioned to that knob, and find what you're looking for. Now, interestingly, when you get to this particular screen, when it comes to entertainment, you can go through the presets and you can really get up into all these other functions. Now, interestingly, it's done by scrolling left and right. What I wish it would prefer is the toggle up and down, which gets you from the bottom menu to the second presets. You can't press up to get to this area. What you have to do is actually scroll all the way to the left to get to that function. As you can tell, you can kind of lose your way, but you'll eventually get there. But pretty much that control knob is just one other feature I liked. Other features you're going to find between the occupants are these heated and cooled seats in the form of this set knob here. Those are really helpful because you can pretty much set it for the season, either 1, 2, or 3 level, really heating up or cooling down to your liking, and it's going to be that way, especially even when you remote start. Now, when it comes to cup holders, dual cup holders up here, no springy attachments, which I've mentioned many times that would help grip the cups a little bit better, but they do house any size drink, of course, when you need it. Now, underneath this nice little covering is going to be a deep area to put your phones, as well as connectivity, even better, the new USB-C, traditional USB, and auxiliary jack. To start the vehicle, you're going to find a start-stop button here beside the gear shifter. Even better, when you get inside the vehicle, it knows you're in, starts pulsating to remind you, hey, this is where the start is for this vehicle. Now, if you do remote start, what I like is the climate control system is pretty smart. What I found is, it doesn't matter what I leave it on when I get out of the vehicle, it knows it's cold outside, ramps this up, puts it on defrost in the front and in the rear, really getting rid of the frost that's on the windshield. Now, once you get in, it kind of subdues everything back to what you originally set it at. I mentioned earlier about the paddle shifters. You'll see them here behind the steering wheel. On this side, again, this is going to be information for that LCD screen between the gauges, as well as entertainment selection on this side. Over here, this will be for cruise control. You do have adaptive cruise control, pretty much set the spacing between the vehicles in front of you, set the speed, and it's going to set the pace based on the traffic. Just in case you get somewhere and need to pop the trunk, you'll find that on the left side of the dash. But most importantly is that heated steering wheel. Now, the leather on this steering wheel tends to cool down naturally with the various low temps we've been having, but turning that heated steering wheel button on, really a great feature. You never want to judge a book by its cover, but truly if you did it here, well, you would be right, because it is the trifecta. Not only does it have beauty, it has brains, and it has brawn, the 3 components that really make a sedan great. And where it truly irons out is on the inside, both behind the wheel and, well, all the other places inside, because there's not a bad seat in this house. Better yet is the innovations that really step this vehicle up, both on the entertainment side, but also when it comes to safety. And that's truly what it all is about, getting to where we want to go, safe and reliable. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.